принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции.
In the early hours of February 24th, 2022, Vladimir Putin launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. 2 years on, the conflict has claimed 500,000 lives and created 6 million refugees. But how did it start? And where are we now? Russia has been in direct conflict with Ukraine since 2014, when Putin annexed the Crimean Peninsula and supported separatists in setting up self-declared eastern states in the Donbass. About 14,000 people died in this conflict on both sides. It was this that Putin used in his defence of the invasion, claiming that Ukraine's government had been subjecting Russian speakers to genocide. He claimed that his goal was to demilitarise and denazify Ukraine, although the West immediately condemned the attack, with US President Joe Biden calling it unprovoked and unjustified. As tanks rolled in the troops and missiles were launched, the US and European powers issued severe sanctions against top Kremlin officials, including Russia's largest banks and the Russian oil and gas industry. Here are the key moments from the last couple of years. The first months of war brought destruction on a massive scale. Missiles destroyed military assets, hospitals, and residential areas. But by April 6th, Russia's attempt to seize the capital had clearly failed, and troops were withdrawn from Kyiv. In the aftermath of the withdrawal, Ukrainian citizens claimed that Russian troops had committed war crimes, including rape, torture, and civilian execution. 2 weeks later, Russia launched a new offensive, and by May had captured Mariupol, in the southeast of the country. Footage released by Ukraine's far-right Azov battalion revealed the brutality of the Russian offensive, which included an airstrike on a theatre and the bombing of a maternity hospital. Since the summer of 2022, most of the fighting has been confined to the east and south of the country. By the end of that year, Ukraine had retaken significant territory in the Kharkiv region, including the city of Kherson. By June 2023, they launched a counter-offensive in Donetsk province, aiming to liberate the land corridor to Crimea. But this attack has been slow and seen heavy losses. That month, Putin faced one of his greatest challenges yet. Evgeny Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner military group, started a rebellion to unseat Russia's military leadership. In Ukraine, they seized Russia's southern military headquarters and began marching on Moscow. But the mutiny was quickly suppressed, and Prigozhin was dead by August. So, where are we now? 2 years on from Russia's invasion, Ukraine has recaptured 54% of occupied territory, while Russia still occupies 18% of the country. Since 2022, the US has committed nearly $40 billion in support to Ukraine, with the UK pledging close to nearly £12 billion. The conflict has worsened the global food crisis and caused energy bills to skyrocket. But as other conflicts flare up across the world, attention has shifted and the war in Ukraine goes on. But what does 2024 hold for Ukraine? And what are the risk factors? The future of this conflict poses huge geopolitical questions. Vladimir Putin retains his iron grip over the Kremlin and the Russian political system. But Kyiv's Western backers are facing democratic headwinds that just simply aren't issue for Putin. A looming US presidential election in November could be catastrophic for Ukraine if Donald Trump manages to navigate various legal hurdles and oust Joe Biden from the White House. The Republican Party has already caused headaches for Kyiv. Some of its legislators, shunning the Republicans' long-standing traditions of Russophobia, have managed to stall a $61 billion aid package to Ukraine. This faltering of Western support is beginning to play out on the battlefield. Ukrainian forces had to retreat from the city of Avdiivka in the Donetsk region, with some army figures blaming a lack of Western-supplied long-range artillery for the decision to fall back. And while the UK and EU are continuing to support Ukraine's resistance, it's hard for them to match what Washington can provide. So while Ukrainian and Russian troops fight throughout 2024, it's the battleground states of the USA that could hold the key to the future of this European conflict.